cc and up. It's going to include all the factory additions. So you're going to start with the 1/8 inch drill bit. You're going to have a 5/32 inch drill bit as well, and a 1/2 inch chamfer bit. The 5/32 inch drill bit and the 1/2 inch chamfer bit can be found on tamermx.com in our install kit. You're also going to need a Phillips head screwdriver, and you're going to need a bottle of red Loctite. Of course, you're going to need a power drill to use all these things. So we're going to grab our fork guard bracket here, and we're just going to make sure that it is the right part number for your bike. You can see right here. And then this is going to be the hardest part about this whole thing, is just deciding which spacers to use and which 2 bolts to use. So when you open your package, you're going to see your fork guard bracket. It should have 2 screws already in it. And then you're going to have 4 bolts and 4 spacers. So 2 of the bolts should be 35 millimeters, and the other 2 bolts should be 30 millimeters. And you'll be able to tell the difference. It will be pretty evident right there. You can see one is shorter than the other. And then you're also going to have 2 long spacers and 2 short spacers. So you should be able to tell the difference there as well. It'll be a 5 millimeter difference. And the reason why we do this is because we want to make it as easy as possible for you guys, so you don't have to know, well, I have a Chirby's plastic, or I have Polysport, or I have UFO. Each plastic company uses a different thickness of plastic down here at the bottom. So you want to just verify that you are using the right one. So for this one, we're going to end up using the long spacers. I'm going to go ahead and take these screws out real quick for you guys. I know, I move my hands fast. So I'm going to go ahead and put the long spacers in here. I'm going to show you what it looks like while it's in there. So this is on an Chirby's fork guard here. Not all Chirby's fork guards will use the long spacer, but you can see how that sits good in there. You're mainly looking at the spacer part of it rather than up top right now. And you can see that there's a tiny little bit of a gap up there by the screw holes, but nothing to worry about. That will fit perfect. So the long ones are going to work here. I'm going to go ahead and show you what the short spacers look like in it. And these are what you don't want to use on this particular fork guard, but you will want to verify on your fork guard. So as you can see right here, when I press it in, that big gap right there, that space, we don't want that. So what happens is it'll cause the bolt to go in at an angle, and you don't want that, and it's not going to sit flush in there, and it's just going to cause a whole bunch of binding issues with the bolt. So we're going to go ahead and set the short spacers and the short bolts off to the side. The long spacers use the 35 millimeter bolts if you want to replace them with 8 millimeter bolts as well. We're going to go ahead and place that on the fork guard, like so. And then from this point on, it's usually about a 5 to 10 minute process. It shouldn't take long at all. So we're going to grab our 1/8 inch drill bit and just making sure that those 2 bottom hole openings are pressed down into the fork guard just to make sure that they're flush. And we're going to take our 1/8 inch drill bit and we're just going to drill directly through these holes, like so. And there's the second one. Just like that, nice and clean through there. We're going to go ahead and we're going to take our fork guard bracket off of the fork guard, making sure that you don't lose those spacers. You don't want them to fall out. We're going to set that off to the side. We're going to grab our 5/32 inch drill bit, and we're going to go ahead and put that into our drill. Once that is in our drill, we're going to drill straight through those 2 pilot holes that we drilled. And it's a little bit of an optical illusion. It looks like it's off to the side, but the Chirby's plastic actually dips down a little bit right there, so it's a little bit lower, but that'll straighten right up once you put the screws in. So we're going to grab our 1/2 inch chamfer bit now. We're going to make sure that our drill is on the lowest power setting. You don't want to have too much power on this because it You can always add more or take away more plastic than you can add, so be really conservative here. We're just going to place this in there, and what we're doing is just chamfering this hole. So it's just a few trigger presses. You can see my finger right there. I'm not holding it down. I'm not putting excessive force onto the plastic. I'm just letting it spin in there, making a little cup or bowl shape in the back of the plastic here. As you can see right here, it's just a little bit of a bowl shape. And what that's going to do is it's going to let our screw sit down in there flush with the plastic so it doesn't rub on anything on the back side. So you can see our screw's a little bit angled right there. So what that's going to do is it's going to allow it to sit flush. We're going to grab our red Loctite. We're going to Loctite both threads of both screws. We're going to take our long spacers here. We're going to place the fork guard on our fork guard bracket on the fork guard. We're going to grab our screws and our Phillips head screwdriver, and you should be able to just put them right in. So now you want to get these pretty tight, but you don't want to sit there, and if you feel like you need to over tighten it, like if you tighten it down and you feel like you really have to push for that screw to sit flush in the plastic, then you need to take them out and you need to chamfer it a little bit deeper, because you don't want a giant bulge in the plastic. And you want to let that Loctite sit for 24 hours to cure. Now you're going to see this. So what happens is you're going to see this gap and you're going to think, oh, did I use the wrong ones? As you can see right here, the fork guard's actually bent in a little bit. And this just happens with all new fork guards. They're a little stiffer than normal. So you're going to put the long bolts in here. And once those bolts are in and once the fork guard is on your bike, it will actually just pull that plastic back to the point that it needs to be in, just like that. And then it'll sit flush, and you'll never have to worry about your fork guard ever ripping off again with our Tamer fork guard brackets, the best on the market. Have a great day.